The almighty rat with nice abs is back in Season 3 of DragonHeir Silent Gods. Corrosion is back. Veterans will be thrilled. We get a brand new Corrosion with huge rework, and I'm gonna show you everything about that in today's video. But if you don't have Rook, don't worry, use code Gorax1 with capital G on this website, link in the description of the video and pin comment, and I heard from my viewers that the Heliolite dice that you will get from it gives you a double chance of getting Legendary in Season 3. No better way than putting this code in and finding it by yourself in December when the rewards will be distributed. So going back to Corrosion, as this is what you guys want to see, Rook is back. Now my equipment on the test server is totally rubbish, so he's not gonna do as much damage as he would with proper equipment, because this is just like day 3 or 4 of the test server, so you know, no much we are not able to farm mythic equipment yet. Obviously we got some on early. Anyway, Aura, 24% attack in all battles. Now this is huge change. Now Corrosion will be based on true damage. The Corrosion heroes will do true damage, okay? So what it is, ignores the target's defense when dealing damage, unaffected by damage boost penalties. It excludes special modifiers that affect true damage. We'll have to do a lot of testing to find the best equipment for them. Each time true damage is dealt by consuming Corrosion, this damage is increased by 15%. His battle skill is very similar to what it was. He sends a rat, a giant mouse, to strike enemies within a range, and remember, this can decimate the enemy backline in the arena, dealing 450% attack. Now see this here. It says Corrosion intensity, 10%. So the Corrosion intensity is the percentage of damage converted into Corrosion against the enemy when dealing poison damage. If the enemy is fully corroded, deals direct damage instead, and the maximum Corrosion intensity is 50%. And so in this case, we're gonna get 10% Corrosion intensity, so 10% of the damage dealt by this skill will be transferred into Corrosion. Remember, in previous version, Rook was using Corrosion to deal damage. She was not generating Corrosion. In this case, he does in this new version of the game. Now, his ultimate Corrosion intensity is 10%. He gains 1 stack of Everlasting Rot, up to 10 stacks, and Everlasting Rot is when dealing damage by consuming a target's Corrosion. Each stack of Everlasting Rot reduces the amount of Corrosion removed by 10%, up to 100%. So with 10 stacks, he's removing 0 Corrosion while still doing the maximum damage. Then casts 3 spells, which spell dealing 200% attack poison damage to enemies within range, right? Each spell launches 2 follow-up attacks with 1% Corrosion consumed from the target, dealing 66% consumed Corrosion true damage on each hit. Okay, 1% Corrosion consumed. That doesn't sound like a lot. Alright, cool. And the end of the skill performs additional follow-up attacks, each consuming 1% of the target's Corrosion to deal true damage. The follow-up attack count increases by 1 for each cast of the ultimate skill, up to a boost of 10. So he is capped. His damage is finally capped. That's what you've been asking for. He, in previous version, was uncapped. He could do unlimited damage. We do have that capped. Apparently, still very powerful. But let me know in the comment section down below if you're happy with it, or maybe I misunderstood it, but looks like the damage will be capped now. Well, the amount of extra hits will be capped, so hopefully we will not be struggling with all this FPS drops, etc. His exclusive artifact still grants us attack and crit damage, and when Rook casts a skill to deal true damage, this damage is increased by 80%. Quite good, and obviously you will build him with crit rate, crit damage, and attack. When it comes to the talents, there are obviously his exclusive talent. I didn't unlock that on the test server yet. As I said, I didn't really play much. I was focusing on the end game content, and most of the Corrosion heroes will have the same talents, just this one will be different. So third ear, enhanced double face. Each time Rook consumes Corrosion to deal true damage, this damage is increased by 35%, which is quite good. And let's have a look at his inspiration. He takes less crit damage. Each time the hero's ultimate skill is cast, increases the skill's true damage dealt by 5% up to 5 stacks. Mandatory inspiration 2, huge damage boost. Inspiration 3, crit rate, crit damage, attack, and enhanced Black Death. The follow-up attack count increases by 2 for each cast of the ultimate skill up to 16. Wow, huge. Your thresholds, inspiration 2, then inspiration 5, and you're gonna be, wow, obliterating enemies. Start saving your dice. But obviously Rook can't do it alone, right? So we're gonna bring Whisk to the mix. Whisk was used as the secondary damage dealer. Sometimes Witches remain a player as well, as both of it works due to his ultimate. So let's go over his skills. His passive, Boneface, when under invincibility, damage dealt is increased by 30% and corrosion intensity increases by 10%. So the corrosion intensity will be able to generate more corrosion. His battle skill grants him invisibility for 5 seconds and strikes the farthest enemy from the hero 3 times, each dealing damage. Okay, so remember, Whisk was also similar to Asphalta, obliterating enemy backline. And his ultimate, Massacre, he gains invincibility and 20% attack up for 10 seconds, then attacks enemies within range 7 times, dealing 90% attack, okay? So this has a high chance of applying Witches Remain, so he seems like a very good and valid option. And that's true, it still stands in this way, but for this test, I wanted to try someone else with Witches Remain, someone who has been reworked as well. And these were the talents. When it comes to the inspirations, let's see which ones are the must. So 20% less crit damage, meh. The hero gains 50% damage bonus when their HP is above 85%, goes really well with the 60% attack talent. Sorry, above 60% HP attack talent. Then crit rate, crit damage, all good. Attack, all good. Increases the ultimate skill initial energy by 5. Alright, this is good for PvP, as we'll be able to cast this ultimate earlier, or also if we want to apply Witches Remains earlier during the fight in PvE. Not mandatory, but obviously a huge boost to stats, so yeah, inspirations will be nice and welcome. And then we move on to Sacridia. So she's been changed. We barely ever used her in the previous version of the game, but now she's cooking, okay? So Aura, 30% dungeon battles, the attack increase. When enemies are under corrosion, okay, we are constantly applying corrosion, right? Increases their damage taken by 15% and true damage taken by 15%. She will be mandatory for Rook to unleash the hell on the enemies, because not only they will take 15% more damage, but also 15% more true damage. Her battle skill, diamond shaped, deal damage to all enemies within range centered on the target, 400 with 10% corrosion intensity, and her ultimate is quite good. Deals 400% poison damage twice, which means we can bring Witches Remain on her, with a 100% chance of inflicting 30% poison vulnerability, and this is very interesting because it increases poison damage taken by 30%, not corrosion, right? Poison. And remember, all those heroes are belonging to the poison affinity. So even if you bring her to a poison team, that poison team will benefit from it as well. So she will be quite interesting hero to add. However, keep in mind that mostly poison teams will be trying to stack poison as much as possible, but maybe there will be some way of using her there as well. Remember, her passive also increases the damage taken by 15%, not only true damage. So that's interesting. And as you can see, I put Witches Remains on her. I didn't mention, and I'm gonna go back before we go over talents, this Toadstool artifact. So it grants us attack percentage, and increases the effect of corrosion inflicted by the wearer by 20% and poison damage dealt by 20%. So we want to use it on someone who can generate a lot of corrosion and also deal damage. So, you know, depending on how those two heroes perform, we will switch those artifacts around, as this set can be used on Whisk as well. Keep that in mind. And the talents tree is exactly the same. When it comes to her inspirations, reduce the hero damage taken by 20% when under control, when dealing damage to an enemy for every 15% of the target's max HP over that of Sacredia, the damage dealt will be increased by 1% up to 12, really good against bosses, crit rate, crit damage, attack, and ignores 15% of the target's defense. So yes, she should be built as damage dealer. I believe she will outdamage Whisk, but for the sake of this test, we'll build her with what I have on her, which is the Witch's Remain. And then we have fan favorite Dargo. So Dargo was used instead of Sacredia in the original version of the game, because Dargo's ultimate applies Witch's Remain, and also Dargo does apply a lot of corrosion. So how he's been changed, or in this version of the game, Aura in Feymander, when attacking enemies whose current corrosion is less than 30% of their max HP, the corrosion intensity is increased by 10%, so we can basically build the corrosion quicker. His battle skill will deal corrosion to the enemy with the highest corrosion, stacking it even further so we can nuke that target, but it is a single target, keep that in mind. And his ultimate summons 5 orbs to strike random enemies in turn. So this is good against single target because we know which target will be hit. So that's why we could use the Witch's Remain. Now, obviously, against AoE targets, you won't be using Dargo. You will rather put Witch's Remain on Sacredia or Whisk. Enemies without corrosion will be attacked first, so this prioritizes enemies without corrosion, and each strike deals 150% attack poison to them. So this is what I've built on Dargo, just to try and see how much damage he can do. But obviously, these are not the only corrosion heroes. We have few others. So we have DragonHeir. When an enemy with corrosion dies, he gains 20% attack and restores 10% ultimate energy. People have been using him in a Goblin Dungeon previously. That was quite cool, but obviously now Goblin Dungeon is not so important. Strike enemy twice, dealing 220 with 10% intensity, and his ultimate, terrible range, by the way, deals 700% attack, that's a lot. Then consumes the target 2% corrosion to deal additional 50 attack plus 100% consume corrosion through damage. This is interesting because Rook used to do that. Now it's slightly different on Rook, but this hero has that in his kit, so testing will be quite good to see if he can actually do decent damage for maybe free-to-play friendly corrosion team that might outdamage the poison team. But now here, Gegnu was used as well in previous version because he had interest in passive. When surrounding enemies take poison damage from corrosion heroes, corrosion intensity is increased by 5%. So as you can see, this is quite good passive. His battle skill deals damage around him with 10% intensity of the corrosion, and his his ultimate strikes enemies 3 times, so we can apply Witch's Remains with him as well, and the corrosion intensity is 10%. So solid overall. As you can see, everyone will generate more. Now, Sabrina was that rare that was supposed to do a lot of damage, and she felt flat. But let's see how they changed her. Increases all allies' attack. When the hero's skill damages the target, consumes the target 1% corrosion to deal attack and consume corrosion through damage. So she's got that old mechanic still in her. So that will be interesting to see again. Fires an orb that can bounce up to 4 times between enemies, each dealing poison and 10% corrosion intensity. And her ultimate, Diamond Shape, so AoE range, that's quite good. 700 attack to enemies within range and gain 15% attack up for 10 seconds. All interesting. And then we move on to the last one, which is a Rust Run. Increases all allies' crit damage by 12% in all battles. Basic attacks have a 50% chance of dealing additional 100% poison attack and increasing the hero's corrosion intensity by 5%. His battle skill will deal damage around himself, and his ultimate will deal damage in this range square in front of him 3 times, dealing poison damage and corrosion intensity. So nothing really outstanding for him, but overall this team is looking good. Now let's have a look at what benefits we get when we use multiple. So corrosion mechanic: when ally corrosion heroes deal poison damage, their corrosion intensity is increased. With 2, we have it increased by 3%. With 3, we have it increased by 5%. Now I'm gonna run this team that you can see on the screen. It's a basic team that doesn't really counter the mechanics of the boss, but I just wanted to see how much damage we can do with what equipment I have and compare it to previously tested Aura and Shadow teams, as well as the one Dauntless team that I ran but haven't shown yet. So let's have a look at the fight and how this mechanics looks. Obviously, we won't be able to see corrosion. We won't be able to see that on the boss, or maybe we do. We actually do. Look at this number. It finally works. We can see the number of the corrosion intensity. I believe that's that here in this corner. Wonder if we can see that here. No, we can't. But yeah, if that's that, then at least we have some number. We can see the corrosion increasing. However, my equipment is so bad that it doesn't really show as much. But yeah, we can see all the debuffs that we want. So the reason why I want Sacredia be built with Witch's Remain is because she does this Fatty Poison vulnerability, which I believe requires accuracy. We'll test that as well, because as you can see, she failed Witch's Remain, and if she fails, we lose a lot of damage potential. So yeah, this number is going up. Let's have a look how far I can go. I'm gonna just pause this video for now, and we'll skip it to later phase of the fight. Okay, so we're looking at 165,000 DPS, slightly going over with each ultimate on Rook. It's not millions like it used to be, but his talents are not maxed out. This is not team optimized for this content yet, as I didn't really have time to read proper, come up with proper strategy against this boss. But just building it similar to other teams, we can see that yes, his DPS is increasing the longer the fight takes, but it's nothing spectacular like it used to be. But probably when we start increasing his, we start increasing Psychic Core. As you could see, I didn't even have 5 Affinity Psychic Core open yet. He will start to scale, as we know he's the late game monster, and you could see that we did that 16 or whatever that is. When we cast the skill, ultimate skill with Rook, we'll see the number showcasing as something. I think it's number of the hits, so we're hitting 16 times right now. 16 extra attacks, and yes, Sacredia dies. We managed to get to 300,000, and we're only doing 135 million damage, which is not good compared to the Dauntless 600 million. Alright, so the team is dead, 147 million, that's fine, right? Obviously not optimized, etc. Let's now switch the equipment on Sacredia and Whisk. Okay, so let's see. Yes, Sacredia can apply this without accuracy. Obviously, this is level 1 boss, so we might not need it. I'll need to test it against a higher level content when it unlocks on the test server. Because as you can see, we are applying this 30% poison vulnerability, and she only has like 40 accuracy at this stage, and Whisk is the one applying Witch's Remain now. So let's see the total damage. Yes, we can see Sacredia is actually doing solid 65,000 DPS, while Whisk damage has dropped. So let's see the total damage we can do. Another thing I want to mention is have a look at this corrosion number. We can see it increases, but when Rook casts his ultimate, this corrosion number is fallen down. It's slightly lower, but remember, once he gets this debuff, it looks like debuff, it should be buff, up to 10 stacks, he will stop consuming corrosion. Alright, so as you can see, we get to 10 stacks on his buff, And now when he triggers that, he's not consuming corrosion, he's adding to it instead, which is quite good. Alright, so I would say we're doing significantly better damage with Whisk, which is remains applier, and Sacredia as the damage dealer, as I've done over 158 million with Rook dying early on, so now we're just doing the scrap damage, but we'll see where it takes us. Alright, 160 million, nowhere close to that Dauntless team, but it's something, and once again, once we start hitting higher levels and Rook will scale, we'll see his real potential. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the new Corrosion team, how it did in the Chinese version of the game. Do you have any clue? Let me know, because I really want to know. It looks like single target damage will be mostly Dauntless team in Season 3. This is going to be huge, and I can't wait till I unlock Temporal Vortex 4 and I can compare Rook, Beldel, and the new Dauntless hero Guinevere that you'll see in the upcoming videos. If you don't want to miss new content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Bye.